Why are there so many podcasts about Tottenham? Do I want to know why? They might contain insight, but mostly delusions. If I hear one more, I might die. They don't like Levy and they don't like Enoch. They pine for Moo and Conte. Someday we'll like 'em, old Tottenham Hotspur, the podcast clout chasers and me.
Hello and welcome to Poddenham Podspur, the Spurs podcast about Spurs podcasts. My name is Ian, and today I'm joined by the host of Hotspur State of Mind, Guy Varela. Hi Guy, thanks for coming out to chat with me. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Ian. How are you?
I'm all right. We're 2 weeks out from the Europa League triumph, and I'm still riding high.
Yeah, it's still like there's times where I feel like it hasn't really sunk in for me. Watching that, especially watching that game to like seeing now that we're Europa League champions, like it still doesn't feel real, but I'm really happy about it though.
Is this your first piece of silverware as a Spurs fan?
I mean,
actually, you know what? Let's just launch straight into it. What's your Spurs story?
All right, so yeah, I'll say first, I'm 20 years old, and I kind of got into Spurs around summer of 2017. It's a pretty funny story when I look back at it, but so growing up, I used to play soccer. No, I still play soccer, but I would play soccer in like intramural leagues, kids around my age, and there was times where I liked playing soccer, but then there was a bit of a patch where I hated playing soccer. And then I just didn't want to do anything with the sport again. But then as I got older, around the summer of 2017, I downloaded FIFA Mobile on my phone. And I was like, oh, this could be a fun game to play. And, I was playing the game. I was like, oh, this is a cool game to play, learning more about soccer. And then I see a certain player card with a certain like logo. I was like, oh, this logo looks pretty cool. And it was Tottenham's logo. And the player was Eric Lamela. So I was like, this is a really good player that I have in my team. And I liked the logo, and I kept on seeing more of like that logo in the game. I saw like the likes of Harry Kane, Eriksen, Ali, you could say even Dembele or Wanyama. Like it was just like this whole, I don't know why, but for some reason I really liked the logo and the color patterns. And from that game, that's where I really started to get into soccer more. I actually enjoyed playing the sport now a lot more than I did back in the day. And then that's when me, becoming a fan of Spurs, that's where it happened around that 2017, and then got more into it from 2018, and from where I am today as the Spurs fan that I am. So it's kind of funny looking back at it, but definitely wouldn't regret it. I love this team no matter what. So, and
they've treated you fairly well. Like I know it might seem negative, but 2017 through 2025, I mean, you got a European trophy, a Champions League final. That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I missed the 16, 17, and 17, 18 season because I didn't really know how to watch the games. But I kind of I didn't have social media at the time, so like I would watch a lot of their YouTube videos to like kind of get to know the players more, their personalities, like the game, see the highlights. But I didn't really know how to watch it. But it was on like cable TV all this time, and I didn't know that until the next summer of 2018. Where I think I watched I think my first game was probably the Newcastle game away in the green jerseys, the Ajax, where he won in Ajax. It was when Dele Alli scored. I think Harry Kane scored, he won 2-1. That was the first game I watched, I think. And then from there on out, I watched, obviously, like, it was like here and there I would watch some games during that season, but it was the 1920 season where I really like started watching every single game, and it's been like that for the rest of my time as a Spurs fan.
Okay, so was that the COVID season, right?
Yeah, even before. But I did watch the Champions League final. I watched that whole Champions League journey. I remember for the semifinals, and the thing is too, what I like about supporting Spurs is it's something that's brought my family very close together. Like we all never really enjoyed soccer all this much. But then once I started supporting Tottenham, my brother, he kind of started same thing with me. He got interested in soccer a lot more. And also just, he started supporting Spurs, and then it kind of rubbed off to my parents as well. Now they're all Spurs supporters. Like everyone in our family is Spurs supporters. Like I couldn't. It's crazy to think that now. Like back then, like none of us like had an interest in soccer, but it's like now we know like almost everything. Like my parents know transfer news, whatnot. They see stuff on the family computer with like I said, transfer news, what's going on with Tottenham around the soccer world, stuff with MLS or Messi, like Inter Miami. Like it's really funny just how we've all kind of enjoyed soccer and whatnot. But I did in fact watch Champions League final, so I was going on a bit of a loop there. But I remember I was in the basement of my house because it was already like 2-0. Like I was watching upstairs with my family, but it was like 2-0. I was already angry. I think I know Ziyech scored. I forget who. I think it was De Ligt who also scored as well. Like it was 2-0. We were 3-0 down. I was like, all right, game's over. I was so angry. So I went downstairs. I just started, isolating myself in a way, played Xbox. But I still had the TV on. There's like an old TV in the basement as well. So I put the game on, just like have it, I guess, not to miss it. I just kind of isolated myself from my family. And then I see the first goal from Lucas. I'm like, oh boy, what? I mean, as a kid at the time, I forget. I was like, I probably was like 13 or 14 at the time. I'm probably 13 at the time. Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I was just like, I was watching that game, seeing the goal after goal, and I was like, there's no way. And I'm playing the game, and I'm like, whatever game, I was probably playing FIFA. I was playing FIFA on my Xbox, looking to my right, watching the screen. I just see the last minute goal from Lucas Moura. I was going crazy. I think I was ahead of my family because then after that, my brother ran downstairs and started hugging me. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And then I left my Xbox, whatever. I didn't care about FIFA at the time, whatever. And then just went upstairs, just watched that with my family. And then and then watched the Champions League final. Whatever happened there. But ever since that, I've been watching Spurs since that. So 2019 all the way through now. So it's been a hell of a journey, I could say, for sure.
Yeah, Spurs has a great way of bringing people together. I think outsiders, like football fans of other teams, don't understand this mindset that gets into Spurs fans and our ability to rope people in. I think especially with a certain type of American fan. Like I live in Maryland, just down I-95 from you. I say just down, it's 3 hours from what I can tell. And yeah, you just see that there's this like type of person who comes to it who wants a certain like football experience.
Yeah.
And Spurs gives a lot of people that, like pretty good, but not Man City.
Yeah.
Chance of a trophy. You feel like you're at the start of something. I feel like Spurs is quite cool for that. And so for getting multiple people on board at the same time for a journey, I can see that. I can see that being really cool. How do you feel about Spurs right now?
Spurs right now, well, I mean, like you just said, for me, like another reason why I'm happy with the club that I've joined is because I want to see this club, progress each and every year. Because I feel like we can, like, there's so much I could say, but just like I feel like at the end of the day, we can compete with some of the big teams. There's just a lot of changes that definitely need to be made, with whether it's in the higher up at Spurs or when it comes to the talent and the players that we have. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I supported Spurs throughout all this because I don't want to be a bandwagon. I want to be a plastic fan, just celebrating the team that wins all the trophies. Like for me, I want to see teams like that don't usually do it, And for me, coming from, I'm from New Jersey, so I support the New Jersey Devils as my hockey team. We haven't really won the Stanley Cup since 2003, I believe. So it's been a while. New York Giants, our football team's, kind of in the mud right now. But hopefully they always build hope with every draft class and every year. And then we just get, killed in the season. But I don't know. I like seeing the journeys of teams from like building from the ground up and becoming like dynasties. Or even if they were good in the past and to see them kind of fiddle out now, I still feel like I want to be there to see my teams at least win something once in my life. And luckily I've been able to do that with Spurs.
An echo of glory, I think, is the
Exactly. Yeah.
phrase. Yeah.
But yeah, going back to Spurs, when I think of them now, yeah, I mean, look, we finished 17th. I obviously don't think that's very good for where we should be.
Better than 18th.
Better than getting relegated, yes, of course. But no, yeah, I mean, finishing 17th, I did not expect that at all for this season. But when you look at it the other hand, yes, we did win the Europa League. We do have Champions League football next season, and I'm happy for that. I'm happy to now know that I have been alive to see Spurs win a trophy. Yes, I was alive back in 2008, but of course, I was like 3 years old, so I didn't even know like what Spurs was at the time. I didn't know anything about soccer. But it just feels good to watch, my team at least win the Europa League title. And now we're, despite being 17th, we're somehow playing Champions League football. Like, it just does not make sense.
Only Tottenham. Only we could do this.
Only us. But like I said, it felt good watching that game. But this whole season, I just saw like, I don't know. Obviously, like injuries played they played a big portion of that to key players. Had to rely on players playing out of position or playing youth players that don't really have much experience. So, that was kind of like, I don't know how to, like, it gave me more belief, I guess, to like see maybe this player could step in and, have a good game or two, or try and be more consistent and maybe try and make a name for themselves in the team. But I guess the results just weren't showing, and just, I guess, how the way we were playing, I guess maybe some teams kind of figured out Ange's system. And just, obviously you'd see the score lines and results. We probably lost majority of the games, especially during like the height of all the injuries and playing youth players. And yeah, so I don't know. I'm really hoping that next season can be a lot better, especially with Champions League football, and just seeing where we can go from there. Yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster of the season for sure. But I guess it was saved with the Europa League title and also Champions League. So I don't know.
An interesting time to start a podcast.
Yep. It is.
Speaking of which, do you want to talk to us about Hotspur State of Mind and why you decided to start it?
So yeah, Hotspur State of Mind. So this was for my college class. So my major is radio and podcasting. So it's funny, I switched my major this spring semester. In the fall, I was film and television, but I didn't really, for me, I'm more like, I guess, TV driven and broadcasting driven. And for me, most of the courses that I had were all film oriented. And I'm just, not that I don't like movies and film and whatnot, but like, it's just not for me. I'm not I never see myself as a director or working on films and whatnot. So I kind of wanted to switch to radio and podcasting because one, I work at my college's radio station, and I've kind of gained a lot more experience working there. And I also have an exec staff position as well. So
107.7 The Bronx, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was just like more used to being there, and I guess, really getting more bang for my buck, if that makes sense, just with changing my major, and it kind of made things a lot more smoother for me. And especially with the class I took as well, it was podcasting 1, kind of just learning the basics of podcasting. And, we had to learn everything, I guess, that comes into this podcast, from marketing to branding, obviously, production, and making the all the sounds, and for my podcast, and basically just creating a podcast from scratch in a way too, and also a website as well. I had to make a website on WordPress, so like it was a whole new learning experience for me. And at the end of the day, our professor, he said, you guys have your own choice to make whatever podcast you want to make about. So, for me, I thought about it for a little bit. I was like, what if I just make a, podcast about Tottenham Hotspur? It's like, for me, I think what you do for podcasts is if you want to make a podcast, you have to do it something that you're passionate about. And for me, Spurs is, one of those things. I'm just, I'm very passionate about this club. I love, like I said before, no matter what, I love this club. So I felt like it was easy for me to just make a podcast about Spurs and kind of just go over their whole season with my first episode, because it was towards the end of our final project was the first episode, and my first episode was like right around the time we were about to be in the semifinals of the Europa League, but also I think it was the weekend of the Liverpool game where we lost tragically.
It was the afternoon off. That was a hell of a listen.
That was the first episode, yeah. So I, talked about Liverpool, that game, player ratings, the performances of certain players, whatnot. What I think, transfer rumors, or the whole shebang from that. But yeah, just really making that podcast really taught me a lot. With how to really try and do it the right way in making the pod, and like doing it the right way, but also doing it the way I want to as well, and kind of learning, because it was all on my own. Like I didn't really, yes, I had some experience as well working within the radio station, because I did use the radio station studios to help me out. So that's probably why, the mic quality sounds very good. Because we have some very good studios at 107 on the Bronx, and I'm grateful that I was able to use those studios to help me make my own podcast, but also help me with my website as well. But when I say that, I mainly made my website on my laptop, but I forgot to say, especially with the studios, I helped get my podcast out on Spotify, but also upload it to my website as well. So, I give credit to the studios there at the Bronx, and for really helping make this podcast. And yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the process a lot. So, and I wouldn't make this podcast, anything else besides Spurs. So, and I'm happy with the way it turned out, because I got a good grade on it too. So
awesome, congrats! I was wondering if I should ask about that. I didn't know if it could be a
subject.
I thought it was very good, but I guess I'm kind of an expert in Spurs podcasts, but not academic podcasts.
No, yeah.
And I have to say your audio quality is outstanding compared to, like, no offense to a lot of the DIYers out there, but it's recorded on a laptop or an iPad, and it shows. But you have like interstitials too, which are very nicely put together. Your fade ins, fade outs. It's all a very nice, like high caliber podcast, which again was quite refreshing.
Thank you.
So you mentioned about the class podcasting 1, and so for anybody who hasn't listened to Hotspur State of Mind, if they were to come to it and go from episode 1 onwards, you go through. Let's skip episode 1 itself, because I think that's a bit of an anomaly, right? It's you talk about Mark Maron, WTF with Mark Maron.
So sorry, no worries. Yeah, so those episodes beforehand, they were like episodes that we had to do for certain assignments, and it was all based. Like if you you can go back and look at all of the episodes, like those are basically all my assignments, just like all recorded, because our teacher would want us to record like a 5-minute podcast about I guess marketing, or what my content plan is, or like I said, that first one was analyzing a podcast that he put in our put in the description of the assignments, like go over and look at and see what they do well, what they don't. So when you see those episodes, like all of those before the actual first episode, like that's what comes into all these episodes for Hotspur State of Mind,
I really enjoyed them, but I'm a podcast nerd, but I really enjoyed somebody coming at it with a framework and a way to analyze the podcast. So anybody who's listening to this, I would recommend, if you want to check out Hotspur State of Mind, that you listen to those episodes, that even the pilot where it's called the Park Lane podcast. Like just listen. Yeah, well, trust me, I went through the same thing with Poddenham Podspur. That's why I ended up with this mouthful.
Yeah.
But they're a cool listen, and I think the essay format of them is super interesting. And if anything, if you were to keep Hotspur State of Mind going, I think that kind of angle is kind of unique within the Spurs podcasting space, and that's what really caught my attention. I had a feeling it was like almost like audio essays as opposed to written essays. But anybody who wants to learn like what goes on behind the scenes and what goes into making a podcast, I would recommend people listen to that. And it being about Spurs makes it an easy gateway. So did you do much research in terms of other Spurs podcasts out there? before you dove into making your own? Do you listen to Spurs pods?
Yeah, so I don't really listen much of, I guess, Spurs podcasts, but I definitely know of. Like, I know there's I know of We Are Tottenham TV. Like, I know of them. Obviously, I know Expressions Oozing. I've watched clips from him before, but not even like Spurs. Like, obviously, I know like people like Mark Goldbridge. I know of Arsenal Fan TV. Like, I know they all host their own kind of like, well, it's like live podcasts and whatnot. But for me, the main thing where I guess I really do my research is either from social media or Twitter, like Twitter, for example, and Instagram, because that's where where I really get my knowledge for a lot of, I guess, Spurs content and whatnot, like the Spurs Web on Instagram and Twitter, THFC Report as well, the Spurs Express on Twitter. Like, there's just so much that I get out of that, where I can just look at that and receive all this information. But also like Spurs' official channel as well, and Instagram and Twitter, and getting information from them. But not so much from the podcasts of Spurs supporters themselves. But I'm just like, they all, I'd say they do it a lot different compared to me, because they have like video podcasts as well, and they have I think probably higher quality mics. They have the whole setup, the desk, the backgrounds. Like, it's just like, for me, I'm just in a studio, making a podcast, just off of recording, at my college. It's like very different. But I think what they've all done is, same with me, and I'm sure same with you as well. They've all started from, we all start from somewhere. It's like, to see those podcasts now from where they were, however many years ago they started, to now, it shows that there is growth that comes with doing podcasting. And then if you continue to do it and you put in the work, then it really can become successful. And that's what drives people to listen more and back and forth, especially with Spurs too, just like how the seasons change, and all, just, there's always some new to learn about with Spurs every day. So that's what I think what happens with Spurs podcasts. But for me, I feel like I kind of knew stuff from social media and other things as well.
Interesting. So you're almost like creating a podcast entirely naive to existing influences in the Spurs podcasting like space. Because you hear like new podcasts come out, and the first time I listened to them, and there's about, I think, 40 to 50 different Spurs podcasts across YouTube, across Spotify, or there's dozens.
Definitely a lot.
I got a running list, and every time I go to like think I'm done, I have to add another 2 or 3 more.
Yeah,
and they're all doing slightly different stuff, but you can definitely hear the influences when some new podcasts come out. Like that, I'll drop some names. Maybe they'll be familiar to you or not, but for the listeners, you'll pick up something and you'll say, okay, they're copying the Fighting Cock, that kind of format, or they're trying to be Last Word on Spurs, or they're trying to be the New Expressions, And so you can see the influences. But what I guess it stands out in your podcast is that it does have a different feel and a different vibe.
Yeah.
It feels more like a TV production, like something you would like in terms of like a talking head for NBC.
Gotcha.
With like the sort of high quality interstitial audio and stuff like that. You're like almost like ad breaks built in. Like you can hear where you're anticipating ad breaks, as opposed to some which, like mine, are more like somebody just ranting into a microphone for 40 minutes. So it's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like I said before, it's just me, working on a podcast really by myself and learning everything by myself. So it's like, now I kind of know, I guess, how to really, I guess I could say, make a podcast. I know obviously it was for a college class, and obviously it was an assignment. The final episode, or like the first episode, was my final project at the end of the day. But throughout all of that, I learned a lot, just really working by myself on this. And for me, with how I wanted my podcast to go, I just wanted to be truthful and honest about how I feel with the certain situation that was going on at that time with Spurs, and just kind of analyzing it the way how I thought about it, because I like to think that I come at certain things with Spurs very neutral. I don't really like I'll say back in the day, like, I was probably crazy. Like I was a crazy kid back then at like supporting Spurs. Like I'd get angry all the time at games if we conceded goals. Like I get so mad if we lost like certain games, like to like smaller clubs or whatnot. Like, but now as I've gone older, I've like I'll say I've matured in a way where I just like if I see us concede a goal, I'm like, oh, that's classic Spurs, or like makes sense. Like, I don't really react as much as I did back then. Getting angry at my team. Obviously, I do still get angry at my team for certain reasons. Um, whether that be, from Daniel leaving the higher up or whatever happens, whatever's going to happen with this managerial situation to the players. But like, I can say I'm not as angry. I'm not like that angry kid I once was as a Spurs fan. And I think that um, I can see things from all different perspectives and opinions about Spurs. And, I like talking about them. It's like if the, soccer fan comes up to me or like because I also play soccer too with a whole bunch of like group of guys. They're my brother's age. He's like 24, about to be 25 in August. And like a lot of the guys you play with, like they're that age as well. So it's like sometimes we'll bant back and forth with like Manchester United fans or Arsenal fans. Or it's just like, it's like it's funny at the end of the day. But I just like talking about football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, with friends. And especially people like to talk bad about Spurs. I'm just like, nah. Like I'm telling you, we're good. Like it's just give us a few years, we'll be there. It's like, I'm just not really. I think I'm very level-headed when it comes to Spurs, and I just like to talk about it in a positive way rather than trying to be negative about my team.
How did you channel that into a podcast? Right. So if you're quite neutral, level-headed, you hear a lot of these guys and they're very heightened emotions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, like I'm.
I mean, admittedly, you recorded after the what was it 5-1 against Liverpool?
Yeah, I did record after that. So, I mean, look, was I was I angry at the score? Yes, and I probably did say like how this is a horrible play by say Bergvall or Archie Gray, for just not shutting down Liverpool's attack or offense. Like, but that's just me being honest and not really like bashing them or being like I probably did say that was poor or that was bad, but I don't really remember if I even said like he's a bad player, don't play him ever again. There's a difference between bashing a player or just there's a difference between bashing a player but then also giving them criticism as well. And at the end of the day, I think it's how the players take criticism and kind of making those changes from what they hear, whether it's from fans or the manager or whoever, to better their game. Because I think that's like I think one of the most important things a player can do. But yeah, I mean, through that episode, obviously I was, like I said before, I was angry at the result, but I still feel like that it was towards the end of the season, and Liverpool were going to be crowned champions no matter what. So for them to just beat us like that, and then I kind of expected it, but I didn't really want to say anything until after the game was over. So, and then obviously we lost. So, but I didn't really, like I'm not the one to just really get angry like at players. Like at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all human beings. So it's like, imagine what they're going through on a day-to-day basis if they lose, or like, imagine like what that does to like their mental capabilities, or like how they think about certain things within the game, and like how they're going to be, I guess, treated after, whether it's social media or through interviews and whatnot. And we know how like Sky Sports can be, and other like, media companies that just, with like certain pundits that just, and interviewers, they always, people just love talking crap about Spurs. That's just the narrative. And, I can see why, but I just feel like, got to try and change that to more into critiques, and really, for me as a Spurs fan, trying to see the best out of this team, and try not to bash them that much, because I think that can definitely play a lot on their minds. So that was kind of really what I thought about when doing this whole episode and podcast, just really giving my honest thoughts from, I guess, kind of a neutral standpoint in terms of like how I express my thoughts for my team, and just really, you know, taking it slow and just kind of thinking about what I was going to say before I said what I said on that podcast.
So I did quite enjoy the way that you formatted it, where you watched the goals back and kind of
Yeah.
reacted to them in real time. You don't hear that very often in audio podcasts. Maybe you do in video pods, or behind paywalls. But I thought I quite enjoyed that. Like, it was as part of that rawness, as part of that honesty that you said in episode 1, which was again about a different type of podcast, but that you said that you were looking for. I think that came out. That was a really interesting and cool way to get that into your sort of full 35-minute pod. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
What did your professor make of Spurs?
Well, first, he didn't really know how to pronounce the name. He was like, "What's the team name again?" I was like, "Tottenham Hotspur." He's like, "Oh," and then he would always get it wrong every week. Whenever he'd be like, "Oh, so guys doing a Tottenham Spur podcast." I'm like, "Yep, now that's my podcast." Because like we would go around the room and talk about like what we want to do with our podcast and how we implement certain things. So I'd be one of the first few to raise my hand, because the thing is, like, the professor, he's our general manager at the radio station too. So it's like I kind of already know him. So I'd be like one of the first people to answer, whether it was like jokingly or not. I would just like give my answer and just, kind of just like, not really just, I would participate very early in the class just to get what I had to get out, and then just kind of doze off a little bit, because I kind of already knew what I was doing a bit. But obviously, working on the podcast itself, it was a lot more behind the scenes work than I thought. But I felt like I kind of had a good idea of what I wanted to do, with everything with that. But everyone as well, like everyone in the class was new to like doing their own podcast. But like you said, with some of the other podcasts that you maybe reviewed, like some of the other kids in the class, they did different podcasts to mine. Some, I remember, some kids done like a fairy tale, I think, story podcast, where it's like, obviously there's more solo podcasts with friends or whatnot, or like you said, everyone had their own ideas. But like you said before, some of them probably recorded it on their laptops and whatnot. So I feel like there's a whole different ways that everyone kind of implemented their own ideas into their own podcasts. But for me, I kind of felt like I already knew what I was doing in a way. And just for me, trying to find that time to really do it the way that I wanted to do. And I'm happy with the way it came out. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good listen. It's a good listen.
Thank you.
So what does a podcasting class look like? You sit in that lecture hall and you've got somebody talking to you. Are they playing you podcast clips? Are they giving you examples? Like, what resources are out there that, people who are interested in improving their craft, if they already are podcasting or are looking to get into it? Like, how can they do this from an amateur perspective also?
Yeah. So we had a course on our, obviously we had our course. It's titled COM 232, which is, that stands for Podcasting 1. It's just within like the communications part of our school. So, but we were given assignments, and we were in class. We would always, like, the way our class is shaped, there's like the teacher's desk in the middle, and it's like kind of like a C shaped in a way, where it's like from the sides to the back, and then I kind of sat towards the right near the door. Like if I ever wanted to like leave quickly or whatever, just because like the teacher, like I knew him, so like I could just like, I guess, kind of leave the class whenever I wanted to. But I would always stay majority of the time. But if I ever wanted to leave, I could just leave in a way. But yeah, we had assignments. Like I said, some of them were done with, like, for the episodes that I put out for my podcast. But then we also had quizzes, and we had like exams, whatnot. So there was a whole bunch that kind of went into this class, and mainly our professor also kind of just showed us our, like, on our slideshow, like on the slideshows that he presented, like you said before, with clips certain examples, the statistics of what happens with podcasts. And so like that's kind of what our professors really showed with this whole podcasting class in person, I would say.
Is there a podcasting textbook? I don't mean that facetiously.
Yeah, there actually was. Yeah, there was. I don't, well, because I had to return them to school. But I think it was, I'm trying to remember if it was like podcast marketing or like what audio works well. Let me see. I'm trying to find our syllabus because that's where we had our like all the info. Yeah, wait, let me see if I have the books here.
Yeah, it's all very alien to me. I did biochemistry as my undergraduate, so this is all very, anything which requires art or skill, which isn't based upon looking at proteins.
No,
yeah, I'm interested in.
Yeah, but we had textbooks. We had 3 textbooks. There was podcast audio, make your show sound as good as your content, podcasting marketing strategy, a complete guide to creating, publishing, and monetizing a successful podcast, and then Out on the Wire, the storytelling secrets of the new masters of radio. And then we had a whole bunch of articles that would get put into the presentations, and then the audio podcast clips that our professor would put in as well.
And I'll try to put those in the show notes for anybody listening who's interested to learn more. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
So you talked a little bit about marketing, and that was actually, was it episode 5, I think, was marketing and the importance of social media on your show. You primarily market through Instagram.
Yeah.
Was that just you had to pick one and you just focused on one, or is there a data-driven decision to select Instagram?
Well, I mean, so for that, well, the main thing I would say was our website. Like our professor really wanted us to focus on making our website for our podcast, and for having our episodes on there as well, because he said that it was good for like the search. It's called SEO, the search engine option, I believe, where it's like you're having viewers or listeners stay on your website and wanting to, come back, whatever, like for more episodes and have them all listed so they can just stay on that website and you can gain more, I guess, traction to your website, but also staying on your website as well to listen to your podcast. But we also had an assignment where, the final project, we did have to create a social media part of that as well. So everyone does Instagram. So what I did was I just made I made the Hotspur State of Mind Instagram where I linked the podcast. I had to make a post about the first episode and, told a few of my friends and whatnot. I had to get at least like 10 followers. I definitely have I think I have above 20 for sure.
I think I'm one of them too. So
yeah, thank you. I can, like I said, there's, I had to make a Instagram for that. And also, I knew a Spotify as well for anyone else to listen to, my podcast as well. So, but yeah, it was basically three things. There was the website, Spotify, and then Instagram that kind of came into marketing and, getting Hotspur State of Mind out there,
So if you could go back in time and talk to Guy from a couple months ago or whenever the class started, what would you tell him and what would you change? Like, how would you approach things differently?
I mean, I would just say definitely, I would say you'll definitely learn a lot from this, from making the podcast to working on it by yourself. Because, one, I know that from this now, it's like, I know this is something that I can now do in my free time beginning next year, if I have the time or if I want to, or I can continue this podcast and, whether it's once a week or maybe once every other week where I just, give my thoughts about what's happening, just to say kind of, maybe I would say, see where this podcast can go and maybe keep going with it. And I could even say this to myself now, maybe it's something I might want to do, maybe as my main passion or side passion, whatever. But it's something that I like doing. I like, the whole process behind it, and I liked how um, my professor liked it as well. He said with the production as well, with his comments, he said it was something that he's never really seen out of me before, and he liked seeing that side of me because um, with my my work at the radio station, it's more, I have my own radio show there as well, where I just kind of talk about the music that I like. But he also said, with this final project, with the production and how, I guess, how I spoke about the team and whatnot, he said that I was one of the best in the class that's sticking. I'm reading his comment right now. He said I was one of the best in the class at sticking to and executing my value proposition, and my content is the beneficiary because my podcast is both structured and focused and doesn't really go off on tangents. So seeing his reaction as well kind of made me feel happy as well, seeing that if he liked it, then maybe other people can like it as well. And I'm just happy with the whole process. But I would tell myself in the past just to go with it, go with Spurs, and enjoy the process. So,
and maybe record your test podcast after the Bodo Glimt game rather than the Liverpool game.
Yeah, see how my expressions change.
I mean, they say that hate drives clicks, though, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of negative hate definitely spreads throughout social media, which especially with sports teams as well. If I see something on ESPN or Bleacher Report, I go check the comments. It's always, whether it's negative or jokes or banter, it's like that's always going to be in sports no matter what. But I like to try and see more of the positives within sports. Not really trying to be so negative at the end of the day. But I think it's good just to see the better in certain things than seeing the negative.
I think there's a space for that in Spurs podcasting, especially like positive vibes. I think people will be drawn to that, especially as we don't know what's going to happen with the team this year. So
yeah, it's the optimism that you want to believe in. Like this is the club that I believe in that can win trophies, and obviously we did it this season. Who would have thought that we would have won a trophy this season?
I did. I called it this time last year. I'm gonna keep saying that every time. Every time it comes up.
Ange wins things in his second season, and
he told us.
Imagine, like I said, imagine all the hate and negativity that would have came if we lost that final. Imagine, how people were saying Ange was a clown before, and for saying that, but then we won, and it's like, wow, like Ange really said he'll win in the second season, and we did exactly that. But yes, looking at our season in the Premier League, we finished 17th, but he still kind of stuck to his word, and we did in fact win a trophy. So,
I mean, the scenes in the parade all speak to the like the boiling of like emotion that Spurs fans wanted to get out. Like they're just sitting in 17 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, watching that parade, I didn't really see it at the height of it, but I definitely watched like the beginning of it. Like the scenes, and seen on social media too, the scenes were crazy. Like it just seemed like an absolutely like a lovely parade to be in as a supporter. I saw fans were on top of buildings and on roofs and outside on their balconies, and obviously just see all the white jerseys and like the white and navy blue. It's just it's amazing. It's amazing to see how we win a trophy, and like that's what that feeling's like. It's just unbelievable, and to see that's our team. It's just unbelievable to see that. And that's just the positivity that I think our club's needed for such a long time. With all the, negative stuff that's occurred in the past few years, I think, this is really like, that was the one good thing that's happened this whole season, to kind of bring it back to life and really give us hope for whatever that hope is for next season, and just hoping that everything can be better than this season.
Yeah. And if you think about it as if we'd lost, right? How do you turn that into a positive when you finish 17th? We'd be talking about the emergence of Lucas Berraval as a player. Yeah. Like we'd be scrambling for positives, because I don't think many people would be able to say losing a final would be a positive for the season.
Yeah, we would probably be similarly to what Man United is. Like once they lost, it's like, oh, their season was all for nothing. It's like if we lost, our season would be all for nothing. So it's like I'm just grateful that we won, and that we do have Champions League football to look forward to um, next season. But yeah, it all at the end of the day, it all starts with the owners. Then it goes down to management and the players, and assessing the squad, seeing who fits in, who doesn't, who we should letting go of certain dead wood or whatnot. But I'm happy that we won the final, and I'm just really hoping that we can, be a lot better next season with everything that's going on at this club. But like I said, no matter what, at the end of the day, I love my club no matter what. I'll be there through everything until I die, literally. So, like I said, Tottenham till I die. So yeah, I'm just really happy that this is the team I support, and I'll be there through everything.
Yeah, I wavered on Ange a little bit, especially around January, February. But obviously, hindsight is 2020.
Mm-hmm.
If he goes, and I don't want him to, Thomas Frank is the name that's in the press today.
Yeah.
I'll still be there. I still love my team. I've been doing this nearly 40 years. It's not that type of stupid decision isn't going to necessarily shake my faith. And I'm excited for what next year could bring. I hope that we see some cool new players coming through. I hope that something that's inspirational. I can't believe that if there is a manager change, whoever's coming in wouldn't be given some money to work with. So
yeah,
fingers crossed.
I wanted to ask real quick. So are you Ange in?
I think it makes sense right now.
Yeah.
I think that if he had lost that final, I would have been 50-50 because he still took us to a final. I don't think that necessarily his future hinged on winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
But it certainly helps to keep him on board that he did win that game.
Right.
I know a lot of people who said even if he lost it, give him a third season because they're sick and tired of churning through coaches.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think I'm Angian. What about you?
Yeah. I would consider myself Angian because look, despite the fact that we finished 17th, we won a trophy under him. He said he would win a trophy in the second season. He did. And I think from here, that quote that he said, he said season 3 is better than season 2. So it's like that gives you, and the way how the crowd reacted. I think I'm going to be honest. I think it would be idiotic if Levy decided to not, have Ange next season. I think that would be absolutely stupid at this point in time. I'd say give him at least this next season to see what he can bring with this club. And then whatever happens after that. But I think he still deserves at least one more season, especially winning the trophy, especially having Champions League football, and reassuring his squad, hopefully having, players back from injuries, getting some fresh players in, getting rid of the deadwood that we have in our club, and just seeing how he can make this club better next season.
I think sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think a lot of older fans are remembering the stupid decisions Daniel Levy's made in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of us will remember Martin Jol being sacked at halftime 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Jose Mourinho being sacked the week before a final, and so it just seems like as much as I hope that he is still in position, Ange, I don't fully trust Levy, who I like as a chairman generally. But on decisions like this, he's shown himself to not make the most logical choice, in my opinion. Because it's one thing to sack Ange and bring in Pep Guardiola. It's another thing to sack Ange and bring in Thomas Frank, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. Apparently, decisions already been made from what I've seen on Twitter and whatnot. I really hope that he stays. If he gets sacked, I don't know how I'll react. I don't know. But I just want to see my club play, good and attractive football, like our motto says, to dare us to do, and just win games, win trophies. Like that's all I want to see out of this team, and believe in my team.
I want to see people scared of us rolling up into town,
Exactly.
Just like you used to be under Party. I want to see teams being worried about us.
Yeah.
So what's next for Hotspur State of Mind? You said that it's kind of on the back burner. You've got it around if you want to restart it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's next? I mean, like I said, if I have the time, because like my semesters in college are busy with my with my involvements on campus and with my classes as well. Trying to going to whether that's going to classes, keeping up with attendance,
Having a
completing my
life,
assignment, having a
just
life. Yeah,
being a person. Yeah.
yeah, and also with my radio exec staff job as well. Like I'm involved in a lot. So, but like I said, if I have free time on a weekend after a Spurs game, I know I could always stop by the station if there's an open studio. I can hit record for my podcast, and just give my thoughts, however long that be, whether it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 or 40, however long it is. If I have the time, I wouldn't mind continuing, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly with episodes on Spurs, especially for Hotspur State of Mind as well.
There's definitely a space out there for somebody who doesn't record after every game.
Yeah.
Somebody who records every 2 weeks, every month, and just takes it in those chunks rather than reacting to one single game. You're looking at it more from like 2, 3, 4, 5 games as a whole. Like, what changed from the last time I spoke to you guys?
Yeah.
I think especially with being a student.
Yeah. It gets really busy. I can say that. So
yeah.
But I always have, sorry, real quick. I mean, for me, it's always like the weekends are always like where I have more time to myself. Because during the week, there's always stuff going on. So yeah, usually, and like I said, Spurs games and most soccer games are on, at the weekend. So it's like, I'll have time to watch Spurs, at like 7:30 in the morning, 9 in the morning, 11 in the morning, or 2 or 12 or 2, whenever like the afternoon games start here in the US. But if I have the free time, I wouldn't mind at all continuing on with this podcast and producing more episodes, and whether I bring on guests or maybe have you as a guest, who knows, we could talk about Spurs. Like, it would all be it would be something cool to, like, I guess, going forward with this podcast. Like I said, that'll I'll think more about that come September when I'm fully back at my college. But I wouldn't see why not continuing on with Hotspur State of Mind.
And do you see a career for yourself in some kind of broadcast production or something similar?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I'm 20 years old. Like, I still feel like I'm at that point in my life where I don't really know what I guess my whole life's passion is about. But I can, I feel like I'm in the right field with TV, broadcasting, radio. Like, I feel like I'm in the right field. I just don't really fully know what I guess my life's passion is. But I like doing this. I like making my own podcast. I like talking about my team. So, I mean, who knows what this podcast will be in the next few years, but I can say, I wouldn't like hold it off and like just completely stop it. I feel like I definitely could come back this next year and produce some episodes. But in terms of that, yeah, I think I'm still kind of figuring out what I want to do with my life, but I'm happy with doing this podcast no matter what, especially with the time I have in college as well, just for something to, I guess, get my mind off of things as well from everything else that's gone on, where I could just, spend some time talking about my team and kind of analyzing what's been going on. So, yeah.
Well, good luck with it. You've put a lot of effort into it, and it shows in the podcast. It's a good listen.
Thank you.
So, where can people find you online if you want to be followed?
So yeah, people can follow me at Hotspur State of Mind on Instagram and on Spotify, and then there's the website, which is it's hotspurstateofmind.wordpress.com. And then if you're looking for my own individual personality, it's Guy Varela 24 on Instagram. Yeah, so that's, I guess, my socials to plug everything. Feel free to give Hotspur State of Mind a listen. I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think I should be able to come back next season if I have that free time, because it's it's something that I think I like doing. So But like I said, when that time comes, we'll see. We'll see what I do with Hotspur State of Mind, but that's all my socials plugged. And but yeah, also shout out you, Ian. I really appreciate this whole opportunity because I did not expect anyone to reach out and especially review my podcast as well. Because I'm like, this is just a school aside, like it's a school project. Like, it's like I never expected this to happen, just to be interviewed about my podcast. So it's like, thank you for I guess analyzing my podcast and especially listening to it as well. That means it really does mean a lot to me. So I got thank you very much.
No worries. It was a good listen, and I listen to everything if I can, just at least once to see if it vibes with me. And I learned something too. Coming at it, you talk about value propositions and and creating websites and stuff. Like I do this as a hobby. I do this because it impresses a few hundred people on Bluesky. Shout out Bluesky.
Shout out Bluesky. Our radio station uses Bluesky too.
But like I'm the type of person who once he starts something wants to get better. So I really enjoyed those first few episodes and then seeing how it all paid off. So that was very cool, and I hope you do come back if Spurs are a fun team to talk about, in September. That's the key, right? If you're not having fun behind the microphone, why waste your time?
Yeah.
So okay, so thank you so much, Guy. You've done your plug. I'll do my plug. You can find me online on Bluesky at iain.coys.social, or you can follow the show at Poddenham Podspur. I probably should have some more socials, but I'm trying to do this for fun. It's just more work. If you enjoy the show, share it with your friends, your priest, whoever. I'm hoping to build this summer and just capitalize on the momentum that I've gained. Thanks for chatting with me, Guy. Thanks to everybody for listening. Keep listening to Spurs podcasts. Keep making them so that we have things to talk about. Cheers.